Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. I am Natasha T. Brown and I'm super excited that you're here. Listen, I really want you to subscribe to my channel. I post videos and messages of inspiration and encouragement, try to really encourage people in faith, and also I help aspiring authors and storytellers share their stories. So you can search my channel for different videos with tips and some interviews that I've done, but also stay tuned for the future because I plan on posting more messages to encourage your faith journey. All right, so let's talk about today's topic. Today I wanted to really talk about how to plan a personal spiritual retreat. What is that? What is a personal spiritual retreat? Well, it's just really a time where you take some time out in quiet to reflect, to read, to journal. Maybe you're praying, reading the word. Really, it's a time to spend with God. It's a time where you can really hear from him and he can speak to you and you can know about, maybe he's going to reveal things to you, or maybe it's just reflecting on a previous season that you had or a season that you're coming out of. Now, I recently took my own personal spiritual retreat. And today I want to talk about how it went. And so I basically spent about 4 hours by myself in silence with God. I played a little bit of music, classical music, and really just to kind of clear my thoughts. But I had some specific questions, 5 questions that I responded to based on the season that I am exiting right now. So if you don't know me, I have been in a 3-year journey in seminary school. And so as I am finishing out that program, I just wanted to reflect on, how it went, what God has taught me about myself, and even, just some things of my heart, some issues of my heart. So I'm going to share some of the questions that I responded to, and maybe these will also help you plan your own spiritual retreat, especially if you are doing one as you reflect on a season. Again, why do we do these? To reflect, to also get clarity for the new season. Maybe you're going to do it at the end of the year. I recommend really doing a spiritual retreat at the end of every month or the beginning of every month. Once a month will help you really spend time with God, reflect and journal on, what happened in that season of yours. All right, so let's talk about how mine went. I really was pleased with this. It was my first time really doing this. And so I just went to a place. I needed to be indoors, but in the next time I do it, I'll probably go by the lake and just watch the water, listen to the birds, the trees, and things like that. I love outside. So I went to an indoor place where I'd never been before, and I sat down. I responded to 5 questions. The first one was, over my spiritual journey or seminary journey, what have I discovered or what has been confirmed about my unique design, specifically my calling, my strengths, my talents, my abilities, and skills, personality, and spiritual gifts. I really listed each one of those things that God has really confirmed for me about myself. So I started with my strengths. Some of those included, my strengths are writing and speaking and preaching and encouraging others. Talents, again, speaking and communicating. I have a talent for quick thinking and teaching. My abilities, my skills. I really reflected deeply on my personality. God has really revealed a lot to me about my own personality, some things that kind of make me like a little bit not cool, and then also some things that I love, and just he's really kind of honed me in my personality life. So I talked about that. I wrote about this all. So I use several pages of this journal to kind of go through this spiritual retreat. Once I went through all of those things, I pretty much wrote out a prayer of surrender. Before I did that, though, I opened my Bible and I read different scriptures, and I wrote out different scriptures about surrendering to God that really spoke to my heart, and I felt like God wanted me to kind of know. So I wrote those scriptures out. Some of them on surrender, if this might be an issue for you. Some of those scriptures included let's see, Galatians 2:20, I've been crucified with Christ. It is no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me. 2 Timothy 2:11, Psalm 48, I delight to do your will, oh my God, and your law is written within my heart. Psalm 143:10, John 7:18, These are just some of the scriptures. Romans 12:2. And do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is good, acceptable, and perfect will of God. Those are some of the scriptures that really stood out to me. After I identified those scriptures, and as I was identifying them, I was writing prayers to the Lord. And really, I wrote one big prayer of surrendering everything, my all to him, my talents, my gifts, my abilities, my skills, even my will, so that I can live in God's perfect will for my life. Okay. So the second prompt that I responded to on my personal spiritual retreat was, when was the last time that I experienced the Lord's love for me personally? And then I described those two times. Two times immediately came to my mind. Now, I want you to actually think about this as well. When was the last time that you experienced the love of the Lord for you, that you just felt it? It overtook you. If you can't think about a time, like if nothing comes to mind, really just pray and ask the Lord to reveal his love for you right there in that moment, and just journal what comes to you. What does he bring to your mind? That was really powerful for me. This was my favorite part of the retreat, reflecting on God's love for me. Two specific moments just overwhelmed me during this retreat and this reflection prompt. The first one was, on my graduation day last month, May 11th, I just had a moment of just thinking back about how far God had brought me from. And it really just, it moved me. It moved me. And I wanted to really reflect on that. And even just, thinking about that, it made me know that God was with me, that God loves me, that he had a perfect plan for my life all along, even when I was in my lowest moment. So that was one moment. But then the other one that stood out to me was a prophetic moment that I had. A prophet kind of read me, and he basically cleared up a lot of questions that I had for God. I had been seeking God about some things. Apparently I couldn't hear him in this moment. In this encounter with a prophet, it just made me realize, like, wow, God, you're so awesome. You're in every little detail. So I want to challenge you to do the same thing. Reflect on God's love for you. When was the last time you felt that love, and what was that experience? And then I wrote a prayer that really acknowledging his love for me and my love for him. And that was beautiful as well. The next thing that I reflected on was any lingering relational conflicts that I needed God's grace to kind of cover, to both heal myself and others. Now, I don't really have any unforgiveness or bitterness in my heart toward anyone, but I immediately thought about these three instances with some people that I've encountered over the last few years. And during this time in the retreat, I really just wrote out, a prayer to God, asking him to even give grace, even to me, in those people's eyes. I don't want anybody to be bitter or hateful toward me or unforgiving toward me, especially if I've forgiven them, and especially because God doesn't want us to be like that. So I asked for God's grace in those situations. So again, question to you, are there any relational issues that you might have that are unsolved, unresolved, and you need God's grace to cover? That would be something to reflect about during your own personal retreat. And then the next question was, are there any circumstances or personal issues hindering you from being completely available to the Lord to fulfill your calling? Now, for me, I couldn't think of anything, because I really have been trying to say, God, do what you need to with me. But it hasn't always been like that. I had to get to that point where I'm okay, with what God has me doing and the season that I'm in and things like that. Now, for some people, and this might be, this may hit home. One time, this was my story. God really was trying to do something in my life brand new. And in order to do that new thing, he wanted me to move. And I didn't want to move. Even now, it's like, sometimes I'm like, God, do you want me to move again? But sometimes moving and getting up and leaving everything we know can hinder us if we don't do it, if we're not obedient. So I just encourage you to reflect for yourself. What does that look like for you? And then the last one was, when was the last time you enjoyed something that you really like to do, something recreational? Briefly describe this time and how can you add that more to your life? So for me, I had experienced that the weekend before. I had a time where I spent with my nieces and my nephew and some friends that I hadn't seen in a really long time. I got to support some friends and pray for some people. And that was really a weekend that I enjoyed. I felt like I did most of what I loved that weekend. And I just really wrote about that. And I wrote about, how I can commit to, spending time with people I love more, catching up with people that I haven't seen more, doing something new, doing new things, new experiences really excite me. So again, for you, what does that look like? When was the last time that you did something that you truly, truly love and enjoy? And how can you add that into your life more often? Again, the purpose of a spiritual retreat is just to take some time to reflect, take some time to see where you are, where you've been, and where you're going, and what is God saying to you, and what do you want to say to God? Sometimes we get very busy, our lives get very hurried, and I think it's important to intentionally take time out to reflect. I am in a intentional season of self-care. If you don't know, if you don't follow me on social media, if you don't, visit me on Instagram and Facebook, Periscope at Natasha T. Brown, and Natasha and Communicator for Christ on Facebook. I'll put that in the chat or in the comments, right? So I want you all to just kind of take some time to reflect on your own life, your own journey, and schedule your own personal retreat, your personal spiritual retreat. Bring your Bible, bring your journal, bring a pen. You might want to bring some music if music helps you tune out and zone into God. But that was just my experience. So I hope that this also just prompts you to do one of your own. Let me know how it goes if you do. All right. God bless you.